Howdy y'all, welcome to the Booth Western Art Museum's Facebook page and my home studio. My name is Lynette, I'm the Education Outreach Coordinator at the Booth Western Art Museum. And again, I'm so excited to have the opportunity to be making art with y'all today, again. So today we're drawing something that we have a lot of in the museum. Well, not like a whole lot of, but something that is not uncommon to see in the collection. We're going to be drawing a bear. So the reason we're drawing a bear today is not only because, as you might know, I love animals, and anytime I get to draw an animal, it's very exciting. But we actually have a exhibition called the Jackson Hole 5. It is 5 women painters from the Jackson Hole area of Wyoming, and we have an exhibition of their work in the museum, and we actually installed this exhibition like 2 weeks before we had to close. So not a lot of people got to see it, and we decided to put the exhibition online so that you could go on and look at it. So if you go to the Booth Western Art Museum's website, and on the front page, if you scroll down, there's a link, and it's like a 360 camera, so you can look up and down and side to side and walk through the exhibit like it's set out in our space. And you can actually click on the different wall labels, so you can actually read them, and there's videos of the artists talking about their own work, which is incredible. So I would go check that out. It's the Jackson Hole 5 exhibition on our website, and I'm going to show you some of their work in just a second. But today for your bear, you're just going to need supplies that you have around the house. If all you have is a piece of paper or a pencil, that's all you're going to need. I have different stuff like crayons, markers, colored pencils, but this is all suggestions. You're not obligated to use anything I'm using. And on that note, yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine. I'm even going to draw mine a little bit differently than I did here because I want to experiment and take risks and try something new. So I like to try something new every day whenever I'm making art. And finally, this doesn't have to be the best thing that you've ever made ever. This is just for fun. It's to explore the artistic process and to fine-tune your artistic skills, because a lot of people think artists are just naturally talented. Well, a lot of artists get really good because they practice every day and they draw every day. So by doing these drawings every week, you're working on your artistic skills. You're honing your craft, essentially. So that's why we're doing these. It's for fun. So I'm going to swap my camera around so you can see the table in front of me. I'm going to show you some paintings from that exhibition I was telling y'all about. So have a nice leisurely view of my ceiling. Let me swap around. There we go. Okay, how does this look? Looks pretty good. So these are some paintings I wanted to show y'all off from the exhibition that I was talking about. But very first, so this is a map of the United States. So if you live in Cartersville, Georgia, where the booth is, it's over here a little bit north of Atlanta. And Jackson Hole, Wyoming is way over here in Wyoming. I made a little red dot kind of where it is. So it's really close to Idaho. Yosemite is up here, and no, Yellowstone, oh my god, I'm sorry. That was wrong. But it basically, Jackson Hole, there's a river that runs through it. It's in a valley. So on the sides of Jackson Hole are just big, beautiful mountains, and there is incredible wildlife that lives in the area, like moose and elk and bison and bighorn sheep and bears and wolves and coyotes and eagles. So there is tons of wildlife, and all of the artists in this exhibition were inspired by the nature and the wildlife around them. So I have a assortment of artworks that they did here. The first artist I wanted to talk about is Amy Ringholz, which we actually talked about last week. We looked at this painting last week that she did called Shield, and this week I'm bringing this one that she did called Cloudburst. Now, what I love about, well, here, let me talk about Amy Ringholz first. So, she was born in Ohio and currently lives in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and the lines and color of her artwork are very playful, and the eyes of each of her animals express really deep emotion, and I love her artwork in that she uses blues and colors and lines in places you wouldn't expect them, and she likes to experiment in her process. So that's Amy Ringholz. Another artist that I was in, of course, these bears are the ones that inspired our art project today. These other two bears were made by the same artist named Amy Lay. And Amy Lay grew up on a 4th-generation ranch in Oregon filled with wild and domestic animals. And she said that nature, she considers nature one of her teachers. And this piece is called Ursine, and that is just a word that means of or relating to bears. It also is associated with Ursa Major, which is a constellation in the northern sky. It's basically the greater bear, and then Ursa Minor is the lesser bear. And the Big Dipper is in this constellation too, so maybe we can all go outside tonight to try to look for this constellation. And in this piece you can kind of see it. There's little dots up here, not the exact constellation, but the idea of stars, I think, is present in the piece. And I love the bright, vivid red she uses in her piece too. This is another piece that she actually has said is one of her favorite pieces that she has made, called Teach Me the Raven Ways. And she likes the idea of combining two different animals in the same piece, the idea that, you know, different species can intermingle and get along beautifully. So I think this one is just a really cool piece. Some other incredible artists that I will mention very quickly so we can get to our drawing is, let's see, here's Catherine Mapes Turner. And she grew up in Jackson Hole and seeks to capture the essence and beauty of the animals she paints. I love this painting. I love owls. So naturally, this one is so sweet. And I love just the nice texture and gentleness, I feel like, is present in this piece. Another artist, September Vey. She grew up on a ranch in Nevada and moved to Jackson Hole as an architect. And she seeks to express truth and beauty of her subjects by focusing on the essential elements and simplicity in her pieces. She actually avoids painting backgrounds in her piece so that you focus on the animal and look at the fine details that she's created. So I think that's a really cool that she intentionally leaves the background blank so you focus on the animal. And last but certainly not least is Catherine Whippler. She was born in California and wanted to become an artist since she was in 2nd grade, which I think is incredible, that you can pursue your dream, and even as an adult, if it's something you want to do as a kid, you can definitely do it when you grow up. She moved to Jackson Hole to learn how to paint the American West, and she's a plein air painter, which basically just means that you paint outside. You take your art materials and you go outside and you paint in nature. All right, so I'm gonna now, so these are all the artists from the Jackson Hole 5 exhibition that you can look at and check out on our website. I'm gonna move all of the artworks that are not bears off to the side. I'm gonna move these up and make some room for my drawings. So I've got a piece of paper, and I'm gonna leave my example right here just so I can look at it for reference. I know some of you are eager to draw, so here we go. So, perfect. Just making sure it's set up good before I get started. Okay, so for your bear, like in the other videos, what we're going to do is start with the outlines of our bear, which is just the very important lines around, and then we'll go in and add all of our details. So I'm just going to use a normal pencil to draw these. And I think the important thing to draw first is the outline of the head. I just drew the head of the bear because I wanted to focus on like the eyes and the facial features more than the whole body. So for the outline of the head, I actually drew almost like a heart shape, but not, kind of not. Because the bear, it's got like a little dip in the middle of the head right here, so I'll kind of show you what that would look like over here. And you want to leave a little bit of room at the top of your paper for the ears, so maybe don't go all the way to the top, but kind of start with a little dip in the middle and then create that curve shape. And then you're going to kind of diagonally sharp turn down to the point down here. And let me do it on the other side. So you're going to do a curved line here, and then it's going to turn a diagonal and meet that point down at the bottom. Because on a lot of bears, if you're looking at them straight ahead, kind of like in this one, their fur kind of comes to a point on their chest right here, which is what I was kind of doing in my drawing. Alright, so we've got the outline of the head, and now what you can do is I would just go ahead and pop those ears on there, just two curved lines at the top, They can be really tall. Most of them most bears have very rounded ears. I feel like bears have very cute ears. So however you want to draw that. And then now what are we going to do? I would draw their mouth next, their kind of muzzle area over here. And how I draw that is I'm going to actually draw this outline first before I put the nose in there. And I actually kind of thought about it almost like you're drawing a mustache. So I'll kind of explain that. So you're going to start kind of in the middle of the face here, kind of where you would imagine the mouth to be, kind of towards the bottom. And then you're going to start out straight. It's going to curve down and then curve up like this. I'll do it on this side too so you can kind of see that mustache shape. Nice curly mustache. There we go. And then you're just going to go from this line and kind of just go straight up. These lines aren't going to touch, but just create the whole nose area. There we go. Okay, so now after we do that, you can draw a little smiley face here. And this is just going to be where the mouth is. Okay, so now we've got to draw a nose. Now, I feel like there's lots of different ways to draw noses. So if you've got a way that you really like to draw, go for it. How I usually draw a nose, kind of draw that hill, frowny face sort of thing. And then I'm actually going to draw a little tiny smiley face here. And then, well, I guess you're drawing three. How you kind of do it, draw like 3 smiley faces and then kind of connect these with a little candy cane hook. There we go. There you've got your nose. And now what we're going to do is draw our eyes. So for your eyes, there's really no right or wrong way to do this. I usually like to draw like kind of a small hill, and then you draw another one at the bottom. And I feel like when I drew quite a few bears in preparation for this video, and bears have smaller eyes than you think they do just because they're so big. So I'm drawing mine a little bit small just to be slightly realistic, even though this is very stylized. That just means cartoony or illustrative. And so now you can draw, I drew like the pupil, the black part of the eye, and then you can also draw another circle, and that'll be kind of like the highlight or like a white shiny part of the eye. There we go. And these are what I would say, this is the main outlines that you're going to need for your bear. Now, let's see. I'll kind of talk about it now. I was trying to decide when I should talk about this, but I think now's a good time. So for this drawing, I'm going to outline my bear. And really with this drawing, I want to encourage you to focus on what I call mark making. Now this is just if you are using line to create patterns and textures. And you can use lots of different lines in your artwork. That's one thing I really love about Amy Ringholtz and Amy Lay's artwork is they use lots of different lines to create texture and patterns in the fur of the bear. So I actually made something that might help you out in your drawing that is available on the website for you to look at. But I made kind of a sheet to help me, because sometimes I think when you're drawing, it's hard to, at least for me, sometimes I have a hard time thinking of like, well, what kind of lines do I want to use to create a pattern? So I just made this as kind of a visual reference that I can use. So when you're using line in your artwork, you want to think about, is it a thick or thin line? Is it a long or short line? Does it go up and down, side to side, diagonal? Is it straight, curved, dotted? Stippling is one of my favorites, which I'll kind of show y'all how to do that. I did it over here in mine, where I have all of these dots, which basically all you do is take your, whatever you're using to draw with, and you just kind of bang it, gently I will say, on your artwork to create kind of a dotted effect. It's very fun. So stippling, hatching, which is just creating lines that go in the same direction, and then cross hatching is when you do some the other way, kind of like over here in my drawing. Also, I know I'm giving you permission to scribble. If you like to do some scribbling in your artwork, you can also do zigzag or spiral lines. So I'm going to kind of keep this off to the side. while I'm doing my outline. And part of why I brought this out now is because when you're going over your outline that you drew in pencil, I would go in, and you see how I drew it kind of a straight curved line here? I would encourage you to go in and make it kind of zigzag so that it looks like fur and it gives it that texture. So, kind of show you what I mean. So, going this way. So I'm going to draw kind of curved, and then go in and make a point. Go in and curved. Ooh, this is like a new Sharpie. I thought all of my Sharpies were drawing out, so this is a nice surprise. Okay. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. So just creating kind of a zigzag, and that's going to make your bear look very fuzzy. It's very nice. Okay. So, while I'm drawing, I will kind of talk through some of the things that I'm doing, but I'm going to really quickly talk about some cool bear facts, because wanted to tell you some cool things about bears while I was drawing. So, in North America, there's actually only 3 kinds of bears. There's the black bear, the brown or grizzly bear, and then polar bears. And polar bears live up in like Alaska and Canada, so we don't get many over down here in like the American West or the East. So I focused on mostly looking up black bear and black bear and grizzly bear stuff. Also, one thing you might want to think about in your drawing is, what kind of bear is this? I think I decided beforehand I wanted to make this one look a little bit more like a black bear. This one's a little bit more like a brown bear. So think about what kind of bear you want yours to be. It could even be a polar bear. You could make it a panda bear. Make it any kind you want. It could be purple, blue, red, whatever. Whatever makes you happy when you're doing it. I would do that. So black bears and grizzly bears are really the 2 kinds of bears that we get in America, and a lot of people get them confused, and a lot of times that's because black bears can actually be like a ton of colors. They can be black, brown, blonde, cinnamon, white even. They can be all kinds of different colors. So a lot of times people see the cinnamon black bears and they think it's a brown bear. Now, black bears are actually smaller than brown bears. They're the smallest species of bear in North America. And also, brown bears have a big hump on their back that makes them different than the black bears. And I actually have an artwork from the museum I can show you to kind of illustrate that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bump the camera. This is a piece by Rick Loeffler, and it's called Grounded and Comin'. And I would say that this one is a brown bear because you can kind of see on the back here, it's got this big hump on the back. So I would say that this one is kind of what a brown bear would look like, and it's very big. Some of these other ones by Amy Lay and Amy Ringholz, I really don't have a good guess. I'm guessing that both of these by Amy Lay are probably brown bears, just because black bears, because they usually have a little bit of a coloring or white in their face that brown bears don't have. So I just wanted to show you this artwork because it's very interesting. Very nice to look at. Okay, so now that I've got my outlines drawn, I'm going to go in, and in this drawing you can kind of see in these black areas where I made kind of these zigzags and hash marks, and I actually did some swirls in the ears. So I'm going to go in and add some of those lines, kind of also some that are on this sheet, so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about mark making. And here, I'm going to show y'all how to stipple really quick. So in the nose, or I'll do it on kind of around the nose, you just take your marker or Sharpie. You can kind of hear it knocking against my table. But this is how you stipple. So stippling can take a long time. There we go. Yeah. It looks cute. I love this. Okay, so I think now I'm going to kind of go in and just add some wherever. Here we go. So black bears, like I said, are kind of the smaller of between the two of brown bears and black bears. Their sense of smell and hearing is better than their sight. They have really big claws that help them climb trees. They have a strong bite. They're good swimmers. And they can run up to 40 to 50 miles an hour, which is really fast, which I think is why they tell you not to, if you see a bear, not to outrun it, because you can't. They're really fast. They hibernate in the winter, so they eat lots of stuff in the fall and are 30% heavier in the fall than they are in the spring. Look at that, I'm doing little hashtags. A nice addition. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So I mentioned that they aren't always black. Actually, one of the things I actually enjoyed reading about with bears is what they eat, because bears are considered, or at least brown and black bears, they're considered opportunistic omnivores. So a herbivore is an animal that only eats plants, and a carnivore is an animal that only eats meat, and an omnivore is an animal that'll eat both. So like we are omnivores, and bears are also omnivores. And they will eat they eat meat, but they will also eat bugs and fish and berries and roots. They will eat honey. And they do eat meat, but a lot of times they will eat things that are easiest to get to, which is why they're called opportunistic, because they'll just kind of go for whatever's closest or nearby. So that's why they're... I thought that was interesting. And also that they only eat about... Black bears only eat 10 to 15% of their diet is meat. And I believe that brown bears eat a little bit more meat than that, but they actually don't eat as much meat as you would think they would. They eat a lot more, yeah, like roots, berries, things like that. Alright, so I'm just adding lots of random lines in here. I'm not really thinking about it too much. Just kind of going. I need some, what lines am I missing for my sheet? I got stippling. I need some like dotted lines. Let's do some like, here we go. I was trying to include most of them in here. Let's see, we've got some dotted lines now. What else am I missing? Let's make some of these lines thicker around the outside. See, because I'm thinking about like, well, if I start coloring it, some of the lines are going to get lost, and if I make these lines thicker, they're going to be the more important lines in this drawing. Your eye is going to naturally gravitate towards a thicker line than a thinner line. So I want to make sure that the lines I choose that are thicker are more important, like the outline. Let's see. Go. Perfect. Okay, I'm also going to get the ears to be a little bit thicker here. Go. And after this, I will get started with some coloring before I gotta skedaddle. Here we go. And also, just as a suggestion, something fun to do today, go look up some pictures of baby bears. They're so cute. Also, baby bears are usually born as twins or triplets. So there's usually a couple of them running around, which is very cute. I'm actually going to make the eyes a little bit darker as well. Make them thicker. Let's see. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, there we go. I'm happy with how this looks. I like it a lot. I think the only lines... Well, you know, I did actually do some scribbling when I colored the nose. I kind of just did some circle lines. So I got most of the lines on this sheet, which I'm happy with. And now I'm going to go in with some color. Now, I pulled out, since I said I wanted this to... I wanted it to look a little bit more like a black bear. I pulled out a lot of my black and gray and brown markers, pencils, and crayons. So I'm actually going to go in with this gray first. I'm going to make the nose gray. So the problem is what I have to watch out for is I drew all my outlines in blacks, and I don't want to hide all of those lines. So I have to draw very lightly with all of my other blacks to make sure that you still see those lines whenever I'm done. Go. Alright, so we've got some gray. And I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take a black crayon, and I'm just very lightly going to color over on this side. Like this. There we go. So it does end up looking more like a gray, but again, I do want to leave some of these nice dark Sharpie lines so that you can see them. And again, I can always, the nice thing about drawing, I'm just not pressing down with the crayon as hard as on my paper, just letting it very softly glide across. And this helps because you can always go back over it and darken the lines, but it's harder to lighten something once you've already gone in. Because I usually color, I bear down really hard when I color. So it's hard for me to come back from that. Okay, let's see. What else do I want to do? I think one thing you could also consider is like with Amy Ringhold's is she would include like some blue in random places, and I really do love the red in Amy Lay's artwork, which I did in my other one. So that's something you can definitely consider doing. This blue is very light. Let's get a darker blue. Ooh, there we go. And then yeah, think about, do you want to do a background? You could even be like Catherine Mapes Turner, or not Catherine Mapes Turner, September Vey in her artwork, where she would leave the background white so you focus on the animal. So you may want to consider doing something like that in yours. I'm going to make a little blue ear. Oh, I did blue ear before. That's okay. I like blue ear. Okay. There we go. Oh, you know, I didn't talk about, I'll do it very quickly. In a lot of American Indian cultures, they considered bears to be very powerful due to their size and strength, and they saw them as being special and a part of the physical and spiritual world. And one thing they would do is if you wore a part of a bear, a lot of times that would reflect that maybe you also are hoping to be embody that power, or, you know, like, because a bear is very strong and seen as a leader, by wearing a part of a bear, you would be saying that I want to have this part of a bear. I want to be like a bear because they are strong and they are leaders. We actually have in our collection, this is a buckskin war shirt and leggings, and it's a lot bigger. In this picture, I was focusing on this necklace, which is actually made out of deer claws. So whoever wore this was probably very strong, very powerful, and was hoping to reflect that by wearing the necklace. Ooh, I like how cool this is, like a very cool color just with the blue and the white of my drawing. This is very nice. Well, I actually have to skedaddle, so I'm going to finish drawing this off camera. But whenever you're finished with your drawing, you definitely want to remember to write your name on it. So you can write your name wherever. I'm going to write my name in the corner of this, but if you want to like hide it somewhere in the drawing, you can definitely do that. Here we go. Perfect. And as you can see, this one looks way different than the one I did before, and that's totally okay, because I said I wanted to experiment and try something new. So if yours doesn't look like mine, that's okay, because it looks exactly like yours, which is exactly how it's meant to be. Okay, so I'm going to actually flip my camera around really quick. Whoop. Whoop, here we go. Get a nice view of my ceiling. There we go. Okay, so, let me look at my notes. So I don't get mixed up. So I would love to see if you drew a bear today, what yours ended up looking like. You can post your picture as a comment in this video, or you can just send it to us you can use the hashtag Booth Museum either on, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of those, and we'll see it, because I love seeing what y'all drew and how you took what my ideas were and made them your own. It's always really interesting and fun. If you want some additional resources, I would highly recommend signing up for the booth email updates, because you can get news or information about what the museum has to offer. Our director of education, Patty Dees, has been recommending some excellent books for all age groups. So if you're in the 2 to 5 age group, she recommended a book I actually have. Brown Bear, What Do You See? By, oh my gosh, can't read backwards on my phone. Bill Martin Jr. and Eric Carle, which is an incredible book. Even if you aren't in the 2 to 5 year old range, I recommend it. It's really good. Also, she recommended if you're in the 2 to 9 age range, National Geographic Reader has a series on bears, so I would go check those out. They're available on Amazon. And also, if you're an adult, a book by Cassia St. Clair called The Secret Lives of Color. I've never read it, but I trust Patty's judgment. It's probably awesome. And also, like I said at the beginning, the Jackson Hole 5 exhibition. So if you go to the Booth Western Art Museum website and scroll down, you can just see a 360 camera view. So you can look up, down, side to side, read the wall labels of the artwork, and even watch videos of the artists talking about their own work. It's just super interesting. I highly recommend it. It's like one of the coolest things on there right now. I absolutely love it. And I'll be here again next week on Tuesday on May 19th, same time, 10:45 a.m., same place, the Booth Western Art Museum Facebook page. And I so look forward to it. I can't wait. And this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me and the Booth Western Art Museum as we work to share America's story. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.